Hello, it's Ryan from 2minutetennis.net, and in this video, I'm going to show you how to improve your topspin forehand at home. Now, I'm going to be using the Topspin Pro in this video. It is an incredible product. If you're a parent, a coach, or a player, please pick one of these up. I am an affiliate, and you can pick one up in the description below. Now, another thing I want you to get is the app Coach's Eye. Coach's Eye actually allows you to draw on the screen and analyze your technique with side-by-side comparison, what your forehand or backhand or serve used to look like and what it looks like now. I've been using this for 10 years. It's actually what I use to make my videos for my online clients, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Please check out the app Coach's Eye. It is incredible. Now, let's get right to it. And the first thing we got to make sure is that your grip is correct. So there are two spots on your hand you want to know about. You want to know about the index finger knuckle, so that's the base knuckle, and then the heel pad. So those two spots need to go on one of two bevels for your forehand. So there are two bevels that I recommend players use. Now, when it comes to getting the orientation correct, always make sure that your racket's on edge. And the two bevels I recommend are, if you're right-handed, bevel number 3, where bevel 1 is on top, right? Bevel or panel 2 is right here, and bevel 3 is here. So this is bevel 3, which is the Eastern forehand grip. That just happens to be Roger Federer's grip. And then you've got bevel number 4, the slanted bevel on the bottom right. Again, this is if you're right-handed. This is like Novak Djokovic's grip. So you've got Roger Federer or Novak Djokovic's grip. Those two bevels, or really anywhere in between, is just fine for your forehand. So if you're right-handed, you'll take those two spots and you'll put them either on the very side, which is the Eastern forehand, Roger Federer's grip, or those two spots on the bottom right, which is the semi-Western, which actually happens to be the grip that I like to use. Now, if you're a lefty, the spots are on your left hand, and then your bevel 3 is on the left here, and your bevel 4 is on the bottom left, this slanted 45-degree bevel on the bottom. So as long as you're using one of those two grips, you should be fine. And again, both of those spots, the knuckle and the heel pad, will be on the same panel, either 3 or 4 or even in between. Andre Agassi, for instance, had his grip position in between an Eastern and a semi-Western. So as long as you're anywhere between those 2 points, you're going to be good. So the next thing you want to know about are checkpoints. There are 6 checkpoints. And this is why it's so important that you pick up the app Coach's Eye, because you want to know what you look like and you want to be able to diagram it and look at pre and post and understand your improvement. So again, get the app Coach's Eye so you can do that. There are 6 forehand checkpoints. I'm going to go over them right now and then we'll talk about them in detail. Checkpoints are places in time where you can stop a video and check out what you look like and you know what to look for. So the 6 forehand checkpoints are the ready position, the unit turn, the drop, contact, extension, and the finish. So checkpoint 1, checkpoint 2, checkpoint 3, checkpoint 4, checkpoint 5, and checkpoint 6. So checkpoint number 1, the ready position. This is so overlooked by players. They think, hey, you know, I've been playing tennis for years. I don't need a ready position. It's almost, I can see the faces of the students I talk to, and the higher their level of play, the more I almost get an eye roll when I start talking about the ready position. They're like, yeah, I'm past that, Ryan. I'm not a beginner. Well, to be honest with you, the ready position makes you ready. It's not a starting position. It's not a waiting position. It's a ready position. Let's be ready in our ready position. So as soon as, you hit the ball and now you're recovering back to, get prepared for your opponent's next shot, you don't want to have your feet close together and you don't want your elbows into your body. You want your feet wide, knees bent, and you want your elbows out. I could take a coin right now and I could place it on the edge of the racket. Most players I watch who play tennis, surprisingly, even at the higher levels, 4-0, 4-5, they actually look like this during the point. And you don't want to be in this position. Get the racket up. Be ready in your ready position. Elbows out away from your body. That's actually going to help you in the turn for both the forehand and backhand, which I'm going to discuss here on the forehand, how the ready position actually helps you. But get your elbows out. If I had tennis balls under my armpits, I would lift my elbows up until the tennis balls dropped out. You don't want to pin the tennis balls against your body. You want your elbows out. You want your feet wide, knees bent, and you want to split step as your opponent hits the ball. So as your opponent hits, you're going to do a little hop. And the proper timing of the split step is to actually be airborne. Yes, actually be in the air as the opponent is making contact. That way, when you land, your body is synchronized with your brain's reaction time, and the moment you really recognize where to go, that's when you're landing and you can explode in any direction. You should go out and film yourself with the app coach's eye, and you should just look at yourself in between the shots. Just film yourself rallying and notice, do you look ready or do you look lazy? Most players are shocked when they watch themselves, even when it comes to their ready position and how they don't look ready. So have a great beginning to have the chances to have a great ending. Now, checkpoint number 2, the unit turn. We talked about the elbows being out. When your elbows are out in the ready position, it helps you in the unit turn. So when I turn, I'm going to turn with both hands. You don't want to think of taking your racket back by itself. It isn't really a take back of your racket. It's more of a body rotation to take the racket back. So I can take my racket back, if I'm hitting the ball that way, I can take my racket back with both hands on the racket. You'll notice my elbows are out. See, if my elbow is in my ready position, the chances of taking the racket back in a way that is efficient and advantageous to hitting a good shot go way down. My elbow is down, my palm is facing the sky, my strings are facing up. See, I want to be in this position where my elbow is out away from my body. And I'll show you this from the back view, but I want this elbow up. I don't want to be in this waiter's tray position, almost like a serve position. I don't want to be in that position. I want my elbow up, and that actually comes from my ready position. So when the elbows are out in your ready position, the chances of turning correctly or efficiently on the forehand go way up. So my elbows are out. I'm going to turn. 2 heads are better than 1. 2-headed monster, racket head and my head. I'm turning. And when I turn, I'm putting my chin, if I'm hitting the ball that way and I'm looking at the ball coming in, I'm putting my chin on my front shoulder. So it is a unit turn. It doesn't matter if it's an open stance, if I'm going to be using a closed stance, my unit turn is basically going to be the same no matter what. When you film yourself, and you're going to pick up the app coach's eye, and you're going to film yourself, and you're going to scroll through the flywheel, and you're going to watch yourself hitting a forehand. When you do that, you want to look for checkpoint number 2. You want to film yourself and say, okay, where's my checkpoint number 2? It's never there. I never see it. See, the point of having, the reason to have a checkpoint is so that you know what to look for at a given moment. So before the racket drops, you want to see this. You want to see that when the ball is coming in, you have taken the racket back with both hands, chin on the front shoulder, back elbow up, so there's a lot of space under your armpit, the tip of the racket facing to the sky. Look for those things. Again, you have to know what to look for, and then you have to have a way to look for it. So what to look for? This video, I'm teaching you what to look for. How to know if you're doing it? Pick up the app coach's eye and start filming yourself and analyzing and knowing what to look for. Checkpoint number 3. That's the drop. So this is really important for topspin. Topspin, the ability to make the ball spin, right? And you can see the ball spinning right now. Topspin is a low to high swing where the racket is below contact and then goes above contact, and it makes the ball rotate over itself. And why do we want to do that? Because that's what gets the ball to spin down. See, the tennis net is very high. We think of the net as being low. It's not. We have to lift the ball up over the net, but we have to have something stronger than gravity to bring that ball down. So we want to be going up as we hit. Well, the only way to go up to the ball is to be below it. It's just a fact of life. So when we drop, we need to drop lower than the level of contact. What I typically see, even when players have a correct checkpoint number 2, is they drop and then go straight into contact. If you go straight into contact, you're not going to be able to hit topspin. You have to drop lower than the level of contact, and then that allows you to swing low to high to impart the spin. Now, when you drop the racket, you also want to drop the body, right? So especially if you're a tall person or the ball is low, just dropping your arm isn't going to be enough. You're not going to be able to get the racket below contact enough to be able to impart enough spin to bring the ball down. So we can actually use our legs, and the leg use will actually help us with getting racket speed as well, and I'll show you that in a second. But using the legs, and you see the pros do this all the time. Like, just go on Instagram, go on YouTube, and watch slow motion footage. You'll see the head go down as the racket goes down, right? So you're actually assisting the racket getting below the ball by dropping the body down. Then we can swing back up to contact. Now, when you drop to checkpoint number 3, you also have to make sure that your racket is tilted. See, right now my racket is on its edge. I could take a coin and I could place it on the edge of the racket. But we actually don't want to be like this, because when the racket is straight up and down in the back, on edge, it will be open when I make contact. That's what sends the ball over the fence. And that's why beginners, when they're trying to play tennis, the ball always goes up, because their racket in the back is straight up and down, because it makes sense to their brain. They say, well, I want my racket straight up and down when I hit the ball, so I must want my racket straight up and down in the back. But that's not how you have a consistent contact, with the strings facing forward. The way you get your strings to face forward at contact is to have the strings facing down or closing the racket prior to contact. That's what leads to having the strings face your target when you strike the ball. And when your strings face your target and you're swinging up because you were below, that's what spins the ball, and you can see the ball spinning. That's what gets the ball to spin, and when the ball spins, that's when you have control. Tennis players use spin as the way to control the ball. No different than in billiards, no different when you're a bowler and you're getting the ball to spin, no different than throwing a football, kicking a soccer ball and making it curve. Spin is the way, just people in sports in general, control the ball. So tennis is no different. We want forward rotation on the ball. That's what brings the ball back down. So our elbows are out in our ready position. We split step as the opponent hits. That's checkpoint number 1. So when you film yourself, look for a great, almost exaggerated ready position. Then when the ball is hit to you, you're going to turn with both hands. I like to turn with the hand, that my non-hitting hand, my left hand, on the throat of the racket. Turn to coil, and then you'll be able to uncoil into the shot. So we're going to turn, tip of the racket is up, back elbow is up, and I'll show you again from the back view why we don't want this to happen. We're going to turn, we're going to drop the body down. Now we're going to get to the contact. We want to come back up as we're hitting this ball. So the racket is closed, and then I'm going to come up to make contact. Now, there's a little bit of a debate on whether the legs give you power, and whether you get more topspin using the legs, or if you should just stay down and use your hand. You don't want to just stay down and use your hand. Just watch what the pros do. The pros, when they're looking for a ton of spin, will use their leg drive, but then stop their leg drive and be done with their leg drive by the time they get to the ball. And that actually then helps accelerate the racket. So we don't want to bend the legs and then stay low. We want to bend the legs and then push up hard. And then ideally, we want to be done with the leg drive by the time we're contacting the ball. And when you stop your body, your hitting arm actually accelerates, and it accelerates up, and you get even more spin because you're swinging faster with your arm. When you hit the ball, tennis is an edge sport. So I'm going to be leading with this edge. So watch this. Tennis is an edge sport, and this is true on the ground strokes, on the serve, on the overhead. Watch, I'm going to be leading with the edge, but I'm spinning the ball. So most players who struggle with their forehand think of hitting the ball like this. They think, I'm going to go flat into the back. It's not what you want to do to gain the most amount of control on your shots. You want to come from below the ball. Remember, checkpoint 3 was dropping below the ball. We want to come up and lead with the edge and spin the ball. I'm still hitting the back of the ball, but rather than going into it, I'm going up it. And that's where the Topspin Pro comes into effect, because we can actually see that ball and practice it at home. We can see the ball spinning. So as we're hitting the ball, we are going low to high, brushing. Sure, if you want to hit the ball faster, then you're not going to drop as far below the ball so that the swing is a little more into the ball. If you want more control and you want more spin, you'll drop deeper below the ball and swing more vertically up. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation. It's not like the same amount of rotation should be hit on every single forehand you make contact with. So sometimes you're going to drive the ball, so you're going to drop very little below the ball. Tennis is still a lifting sport, so we want to be lifting up as we hit. But if you want to hit the ball faster, drop a little bit below the ball and have a little bit of racket closure, right? So you're not going to close it as much and then swing flatter into the ball. If you want more topspin, drop lower below the ball and close the face more and then swing up more as you hit. And it's a steeper incline. In my experience, rarely do players have too steep an incline. Their swings are usually too level. So if in your mind you're thinking of going more vertically up the back, that'll be a good thing. One last note to make on the contact is I want you to notice where I have my non-hitting hand. As I've been hitting this ball, I've been keeping my non-hitting hand up. Most players who struggle on their forehand have their non-hitting hand drop as they hit the ball. You do not want your non-hitting hand to drop. Yes, we want to turn with both hands, but we don't want to drop it. When the non-hitting hand drops, it becomes a counterweight. If you've ever seen somebody, or if you've taken a lesson and you were told that you hug yourself, if you're a coach, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You'll see players hug themselves. Why does that happen? Because the non-hitting hand drops and now it becomes a counterweight. The hitting arm goes, the non-hitting arm goes the opposite direction. Every action has an equal and opposite, and they end up hugging themselves. Then you can't turn your hips, you can't be consistent, you can't hit with speed or control. So you want to keep your non-hitting hand higher than contact. I know we are I'm giving you a lot of concepts to think of right now. Let's say there are 30 things I'm going to teach you in this video. What I'm saying right now is easily a top 5 idea in this video. At contact, have your non-hitting hand above the level of contact. If it drops, your level of play drops. If it stays up, your level of play rises. It is that simple. So elbows out, we turn with both hands. You look for that on the video on the Coach's Eye app. You're then going to drop your racket down below contact. You're going to come up. Notice my non-hitting hand is rising. My non-hitting hand is rising to make sure it stays above contact. And now I'm going to go up. Now this is the idea of extension. Extension is extending out in the direction you were swinging during contact. So what we don't want to do is we don't want to be going like this as we hit a ball. So we don't want to swing, if we're right-handed, from right to left. You actually want to swing what's called inside out, which is when the racket is back by you because it dropped near your back leg, and then you swing away from contact. You swing out. You might have noticed I was just holding like this. I don't actually play tennis like this. That was just a way to demonstrate. But we want the racket to swing out away from the body. But then as we're hitting, we're going up. Notice my racket is going toward the ceiling. The extension on a forehand is upward. And you'll notice I'm not pulling with my left arm. I'm actually using my left hand, since I'm right-handed, to go back on the racket way up. I know this is very simplistic. You know, you might have been like, but what about the Kyrgios and what about the Jack Sock forehand? To be honest, I'm not going to teach you that type of forehand because I think it's very stylistic and it's very much like cursive. It's like a signature. It's not the basics that they learned when they were kids. I can tell you that right now. But the idea is if you need to improve your forehand, go up after you hit and add your non-hitting hand to the racket. Actually grab onto the racket. So that's the extension. We're extending up and out toward our target. Now I'm going to choke up just because the ceiling's a little low here, but I'm going to add my left hand to the racket going up. And then the last thing is the finish. where, remember we talked about the front shoulder is on the racket, and I'll show you this from the front. My chin is on my front shoulder before I hit, and then when I was done, then I'm gonna switch it. So my chin goes from my front shoulder to my back shoulder. So my front shoulder to my back shoulder. And that just means that I kept my head still, but that I'm still allowing, after I extend up, I'm still allowing the racket to relax. You'll notice my hands are higher than eye level. I'm a big fan of the way, I actually saw a video of Venus Williams, and she changed her forehand finish a little bit, which I was disappointed about. But back in the day, she used to always catch the racket higher than eye level. Venus is now doing something like this, which isn't going to make any difference because it's after she contacts the ball. But she would always catch the racket up here. And what I loved about that is that it forced her to have the non-hitting hand up, to swing up while she's hitting the ball, which is what you want. You can just see this ball spinning. I love this product. And then, boom, she's going to finish up high with her hands higher than eye level. I love, love, love. I seem to teach what a lot of the gentlemen do on the turn, like Federer and Djokovic. And then when it gets to like the drop and the contact, I seem to teach what Serena and Azarenka and Venus do on their swings with the way that they finish nice and high. So it's interesting that like kind of the guys, I like to teach this, and then from here, I like to teach what the ladies do through contact all the way up. I think that's actually what helps my players, both online and in person, hit their best tennis shots. So let's look at this from the front. I've got my ready position, my elbows out, I drop, I swing up. Notice my non-hitting hand is above contact. I'm going up, and then my finish is high. Watch this from the back. Elbows out, I turn with both hands, I drop, I swing up, and I brush up the back. I'm gonna choke up a little bit so I don't hit the ceiling. I'm gonna go up, I just did anyway, no problem. And then I'm gonna catch higher than eye level. You'll notice this is called air the armpits. You'll notice that you can see my armpits. So you don't wanna hit and have your elbows down here. Tennis is a lifting sport. The more I swing up, the more the ball spins down. The more I go up as I hit the ball, the more I go this way as I hit the ball, the more that ball is going to spin down. Again, I am an affiliate of this product, Topspin Pro. It is absolutely incredible. Actually, at the tennis club where I coach, we have 5 of them, and we bring them out all the time for the students. And what an enormous difference, like summer camp, like an enormous difference in the level of play of the students in just a few hours from when they get dropped off on the first day to lunchtime. Just because of this product, they can actually get the idea of topspin and practicing in a slow manner, then starting to introduce hand feeds. It's amazing the improvement that you see from it. So an incredible product. Again, I am an affiliate. You can check out the affiliate link in the description below and get the app Coach's Eye. I know I keep talking about Coach's Eye. I have no affiliation with Coach's Eye whatsoever, but it is an incredible product. There are other products out there, but it is an incredible app, I should say, when it comes to analyzing your technique. If you're a coach, you can analyze your students. It's just an awesome product. So definitely go into the App Store and pick up Coach's Eye. If you have any questions, feel free to throw them in the description, in the comments below. I want to help you understand how to fix and improve your topspin forehand at home. And if you look for these checkpoints, if you look for the ready position and the unit turn and the drop and the contact and the extension and the finish, if you look for those 6 positions in your topspin forehand, there's no doubt you're going to gain confidence, win more matches, and play much better tennis. This is Ryan Reedy from 2minutetennis.net. You got this.